What's up, boys and girls? My name is Michael Chandler. I am the number 4 ranked lightweight in the UFC, so I'm a professional mixed martial artist. Today, we're going to be answering some of your questions.
What's one piece of advice you give to someone who isn't feeling motivated?
The advice I would give is that you have to connect your why to your what. We all have these things that we want to do. We all have these things that we want to accomplish, that we want to attain and acquire and build. And you're not going to feel motivated every single day. Motivation is a fleeting feeling. But joy and gratitude are things that you live by, trying to operate and focus on being more joyful and not just being happy today because of X, Y, and Z, happy tomorrow if X, Y, and Z happens, and connecting gratitude to what you're doing. Even things as simple as me having a voice, being able to stand here and sit here on 2 capable legs, having 2 capable arms, and having no limits put on me except for the limits that I put on myself. You will not feel motivated every single day, but hitch your gratitude to your what and ultimately why you are trying to accomplish what you're trying to accomplish.
What's your morning routine?
Morning routine, I'd like to say it was 100% consistent every single day, but when you have a wife, 2 kids, 10 jobs, and life gets busy, I always try to get up a little bit earlier than my kids if I possibly can. Sometimes that doesn't happen. When I do that, just to sit in silence a little bit, because the day gets very loud, the day gets very hectic. Your phone is constantly buzzing. People constantly need you. There's constant noise. If you can quiet the noise in the morning and start with a gratitude journal, a list of 5 things that you are thankful for, 5 things that I am happy about. Thank the Lord for another day, and then sip your coffee, sip your morning drink, have your morning breakfast, whatever it is that you eat or drink. Take my multivitamins, my morning vitamins in the morning, and that is just kind of my starter, my kickstarter for the day. But most importantly, get a little bit of quiet time because the rest of the day will assuredly be noisy.
Are you a coffee drinker?
I am definitely a coffee drinker. I am a morning coffee drinker, an afternoon coffee drinker. I like to do decaf in the afternoon. I just love the taste of coffee. So that is part of my morning routine. It doesn't feel like morning. It doesn't feel like I can really get the day really kick-started until I sip that little bit of coffee, or even when I smell it, or even that sound of the beans being grinded up in my espresso maker. That's what really kind of triggers me to say, okay, today's another day. Now what am I thankful for? Now what am I going to accomplish today? And ultimately, let's sip this coffee and take it straight to the dome.
Do you have a favorite show right now?
Shoot. My favorite show that I'm watching right now, it is no longer being filmed, but it's called Community. It's on Netflix. I have saved in my watch list Yellowstone because I keep hearing people talk about Yellowstone. So now that there are numerous seasons in, I want to start that one. And I've also started The Terminal List with Chris Pratt.
What's the last song you downloaded?
Oh, I guess I'll just, okay. Last song I downloaded, Water Under the Bridge by Sam Hunt. It just got released not too long ago. He's always extremely good, and this one's got a really cool country twang to it, and it's talking about water under the bridge, because every season in life, there's going to be things that happen to you, and a lot of things are just water under the bridge.
What's your favorite off-season food?
Oh man, fudge, that's hard because it changes all the time. You know, it's funny. My favorite off-season food, I've gone through seasons and times in my life where it was like it used to be pizza and it was fries and burgers, and now it's just steak. I do with my MegaFit meals get to eat ground bison and steak during training camp because it's lean and it still helps me get down to weight. But being able to go out to a restaurant or here at my house and cook a nice big juicy fat ribeye with butter on top of it. It's a lot of calories, but it's a lot of fuel, and it's good for the soul.
Who did you look up to the most growing up?
Good question. The most obvious was my dad. My dad was an extremely hard worker. He was a union carpenter. He always had his work boots on, always woke up early and finished working late. Was always doing yard work or side jobs on the weekend. My mom and dad worked 2 and 3 jobs to make sure me and my brothers had every opportunity possible. So I really looked up to my dad, especially being the man of the house. But outside of my family, I would say my wrestling coaches. I had numerous wrestling coaches at my 2 high school wrestling coaches, the Wilhelms, my summer wrestling coaches, Pete Mankiewicz and Donnie Mitchell. So those would be the people I looked up to.
Favorite thing about being a dad?
I think my favorite thing about being a dad is maybe how hard it is. There's days where my wife and I just think, man, this is so much harder than we thought. And I think it's hard is a fluid term, because I think it's hard for us because we do put the pressure on ourselves to do great things for our children, set a great example, serve them extremely well, show them love and security, and then also chase our dreams, set our goals, and try to reach our goals. So finding the balance between serving your children and being a good advocate and a good steward of the blessing of those children, and then also trying to have crazy audacious goals that we have, is probably just, I think I do love the challenge of it, even though obviously there's days where I wish it was a little bit easier. And then watching them grow, watching our oldest son Hap go through new seasons and start asking more questions, and our youngest son Ace, who is just a couple months old, even seeing him start to move more, pick his head up more, spitting up less, almost rolling over, playing more, talking more. See these little bitty milestones that you get to say, yeah, I'm proud of you, and I can take a little bit of credit for giving you the safety and security underneath our household. You're going to turn into a great young man. I did oxymoron on you, or I did it backwards. It was like, what's the hardest thing about it? Well, the best thing about it is how hard it is, and you're like, wait, what the fudge, dude? The coldest thing about it is how hot it is. You're like, what? Still makes sense, dude.
Who would you rather fight, a grizzly or a gorilla?
That's a good question. I would have to say, if I had to choose, I would go grizzly bear. How do I stay so disciplined? I mean, I get asked all the time. I think for me, I always just look at the alternative, and I ask this to young fighters that I train with all the time, young people all the time. They complain about how hard the work is, or they complain about how long the hours are, or they complain about not making enough money for their time spent. And I just ask them simply, what's the alternative? I know what my alternatives are. I was never supposed to be where I am now. I was supposed to be back in High Ridge, Missouri, working at Dobbs Tires or Emo's Pizza. The life that I built for myself was built upon delayed gratification and the notion that I can create a life worth living for myself. And so that's how I stay so disciplined, because I know what the alternative is. And I think it's important to see the alternative in your life. What does my life look like if I do cut corners, if I don't operate with integrity, if I am not a man of character, if I don't put the hard work in? And that scares the heck out of me. And now I have a wife and 2 kids to think about. So waking up every single morning, putting the work in, and being extremely disciplined at my craft just seems like second nature to me, because to give anything less than that is to sacrifice the gifts that I've been given. People always ask me, what's going through your mind when you're walking to the cage? Nothing, really. What's going through my mind when I'm walking to the cage is usually just nothing. I don't really want anything to be going through my mind aside from what I am saying to myself. And people say, wait, you talk to yourself? And yes, I do talk to myself, because if I sit here in the quiet of my own thoughts, I will eventually think something negative, think something less than, think of a negative outcome. So the more time I spend talking to myself, filling up the sound waves inside my own head with positive affirmations, things that I do deserve, how great I deserve to do, how great of a performance I deserve to have tonight because of the work that I did put in, and the integrity that I did operate in, and the discipline that I did show throughout my training leading up to not just this fight, but every single fight in my entire past. So what is going through my mind is nothing. I'm just trying to speak to myself. I want to be in control of my thoughts by being in control of what I'm saying to myself, and keeping my heart rate low by not letting negativity come into my mind because I'm speaking to myself. My training philosophy is pretty simple. Go as hard as you can for as long as you can, and keep the body guessing. Whether it's mixed martial arts, putting myself through extra rounds, going with the extra hard partners, or whether it's in the gym, going the extra reps longer and more violently, and pushing myself outside of my comfort zone. I think every single workout became, okay, this isn't just about getting the reps and sets and time done. It's about, how do I get myself outside of my comfort zone? Because outside of your comfort zone is where you grow the most. It's really the only place that you can truly grow intrinsically from a spiritual standpoint, because what we're doing isn't just about the muscles in the arms, 2 arms and 2 legs. It's so much more mental and spiritual than it actually is physical. So making sure I take myself outside of the comfort zone, galvanizing myself in the fire of the hard work. And in those moments where you're second guessing yourself, in those moments when the pain sets in, that's when you take it to the next level, because it's not the man who can push the hardest that wins. It's the man that can push the hardest after it gets painful, after he gets tired, after he starts thinking about quitting. That's where the real character is built. So I just do everything as hard as I possibly can. And if I need to take a rest day, I take a rest day. November 12th, Madison Square Garden, the most iconic arena on the planet. Fighting Dustin Poirier, most likely a number one contender fight. I beat Dustin Poirier. I most likely get the title shot next, at least in my mind. So Dustin Poirier is a consummate professional. He is battle-tested, tough, great boxing, southpaw, great cardio, great head on his shoulders, confident competitor. So I'm excited to go out there, like I said, in the world's most iconic arena, Madison Square Garden, warming up in the same locker room as Muhammad Ali and Mike Tyson, and fighting in an octagon within feet of where those boxing rings have been held with some of the most iconic fights in the history of combat sports. So it's an awesome platform. UFC has given us an awesome opportunity. I do believe I go out there and finish Dustin Poirier, and I will be our world champion by middle of next year. I've said out 10 times worth of stuff. I'm like, how am I going to eat all this?
You're right.